Something probably just got unplugged. Pardon us for a moment.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. This is a headset I haven't worn in a while, and as it turns out, there's a button that got pressed. It happens. It happens. But, hello, everyone. Welcome to Dungeons Divided. We are live here in the Float Studios in lovely Los Angeles. We thought we'd do something a little different today because, well, life is crazy. San Diego Comic-Con is crazy, but we still love you, and we are crazy about making content for you. So we thought we'd try something different and do an interview with some of these players that you have known. And who knows, maybe if it goes well, you'll see more players for this style of interview. Really fast, want to make sure. Can you see me too?
We can see you. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, as you can see, we have with us two of the many awesome players we have for Campaign 2, Rivenheim. And we want to do a little interview with them to kind of give you some more, not just some context, but behind-the-scenes look about them and the story their characters are just getting into. So I have a few questions here. If you have any questions, please make sure to put them in the chat. As always, everything we do here at the wonderful Dungeons Divided is sponsored. Now, I don't know if they're sponsoring this episode, but they are sponsoring our campaign. So please make sure to check out the Goods Merchant, +3 Charisma, and I believe Lethal Shadows Minis is still in the fight with us. Hell yeah. Well, without further ado, let's turn it over and introduce you to these two awesome players. Let's start off with Solar. Please tell us who you are and where we can find you on that sweet, sweet internet.
Hello, everyone. This is Solar Grey, the Cinematic Sorcerer, coming at you from the studio. All right. Yeah, that's right. I just kind of had to pick up the Wizard's Tower and put it over in the other studio for Dungeons Divided because, cinema, sorcery, that kind of thing. And in the Dungeons Divided second campaign, I am, let's say, playing the character of Cythereal. He is actually a high elven sorcerer who, you stay tuned and you'll find out a lot more about him. And you can find me over at twitch.tv/BID_P Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Heck yeah. DW, please tell us who you are and where we can find you on that sweet, sweet internet.
I'm DW McCann. I'm an actor, voice actor, writer, director, and singer. And you can find me on the internet on most of the services as Bardic_DW. I'm playing currently Tinkus, our Warforged Artificer. And it's been quite a fun experience. I've two concepts I haven't played before, a Warforged or an Artificer.
Well, that would probably lead into our first question very well. But before we do that, let me just do a quick introduction for myself. My name is PJ McGaw. You can find me all over the internet at PJ McGaw, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. But you can also find me here at Dungeons Divided. Wednesdays on YouTube, Wednesdays on Twitch, Fridays on YouTube. That being said, let's go into the interview. Now, if you have a question for these two at any point in time, please jump into the chat and hit them with your question. I can see the chat right here clear as day, so if you have anything, I'll make sure to see it and say it.
Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to put the chat down there. We'll keep checking back every once in a while and answer those questions in YouTube as we find them.
Absolutely. If you are on our YouTube, know that we always check our comments. We are always there with you, and we're happy to chat with you anytime. So please put those questions down there. One of us will get to you right away. But that being said, let's start with the very first question. So I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to give both of you an opportunity to answer it. Just go into it. Have fun with it. And if there's any follow-ups, I'll make sure to go into that. But first things first, and I'm going to ask this for DW because you mentioned something that this was your first time playing I think a Warforged and an Artificer. So perfect segue into this question. Mechanically, why did you pick this class and lineage?
Well, anytime I approach these games, especially these ones we've been doing on the streaming services, I like the challenge. I like to get into a character that I don't have any preconceived notions of. Let's learn this thing as we go. And so I delve into a new concept each time. I try to find something like the Shadow. I was playing a 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐲𝐬𝐲, which I had never played before, who was a oh gosh, I forget the type of warrior he was. Tip of my tongue. But I hadn't played that before, and then from that came all these ideas of where it could go. And I did the same thing here. I knew I wanted to play something. I was looking to do range damage. I didn't want to necessarily run tank. I didn't necessarily want to run healer. But I'm like, okay, well, let's get something that can get some damage in there. Let's see what we can do. Started looking at some ideas, and the Warforged concept was the first one I hit on. Like, oh, I've never played that. That sounds really interesting, to play a giant machine. And of course, like many people probably do when they think of this one, Iron Giant is one of the things that first comes to my mind. Iron Giant is one of my favorite movies of all time. But a few others. What was the one with Will Smith?
I Am Robot.
I Am Robot. That was which I read the original.
That was iRobot.
iRobot.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
I Am Legend. iRobot.
But I Am Legend was being mixed with iRobot. Yes. Both Will Smith vehicles, both great movies.
I Am Robot with zombie mechanical dog.
Oh man,
make it happen, Paramount.
There's my next idea.
Make it happen, Paramount, you cowards. Excellent. That sounds really fun to me. And I guess a follow-up question would be like, for DW. So you wanted something that could like do range damage and could do all these things, but didn't necessarily like have to be any one of them. I guess the big question is like, because like the Artificer is a very new class to begin with. It's only been around for like maybe a year or two. We've been crying about it for a long time as D&D players. So what was the impetus for the style of Artificer you chose? Because there's like the subclasses. So what made you go, that's a subclass I want?
So once I settled on Warforged Artificer, I started looking at all and armor is put forward as the best because the way the armor stacks with how the Warforged is built, you can make a mighty tank. But I didn't want to do tank. So I started looking at the other options, and Alchemist was looking very interesting to me. But the Artillerist gave that range damage concept, and I loved the fact that it makes a little gun. And it also, there's levels where you can get a homunculus that can basically run your little gun. And that's, once I started looking into the things that the Artificer Artillerist makes, that was when the idea hit me to make him a toy maker.
Yeah. That's super, super cool. Let's jump over to Solar. Same question mechanically. Why did you pick this class and lineage specifically for your character?
Well, in all my years of playing D&D, specifically D&D, I've played so many flavor of wizards. You know, like, hey, your first level, have all of the spells. And yeah, your second level, well, guess what? Take all of the spells and multiply it by infinity. And with that going, it's really easy kind of like to fall into a rut of these are the spells that work. These are the spells that I have to have. This is, all that jazz. But since 5th edition came out, I've only ever played a sorcerer one time, and I didn't really get the hang of it. You know how the wizard has to go to school and have they get their degrees in magic, and they're like, yes, I'm a little bit smart. And then they come out Neil deGrasse Tyson after having listened and read the lyric sheets to the entire Tool catalog, right? Versus an X-Man or a superhero that's just born with it. It's not Maybelline. They just have it. And I liked the concept mechanically of, okay, you can do one, maybe 2 or 3 things, but you can do them in ways that aren't available to wizards. And you're really good at those ways. It's for a lot of people.
Meta magic aspect?
Huh?
Are you talking about the meta magic aspect?
Yeah, the meta magic aspect specifically. Now, if people have found me on the internet or heard me talk about role-playing games in general, My favorite magic system of all time was the Purple Book edition of Mage the Ascension. Okay. Second favorite magic system was Ars Magica. And
Oh, yeah.
you know, the whole idea of we're playing D&D, and there's always been this thing about the mechanical uses of magic, where you have your spell slots, which means you can do this once or twice a day. And the magic, at least until 5th edition, has always been very well defined in its parameters. And what I see with the sorcerers, they have, with the meta magic and the few spells that are available to them, they have a much broader scale, or scope, rather. I always get those two confused. From what they can do with their magic. So they essentially can use spell slotted spells as creatively as most other magic slingers can use cantrips. So that was really, really attractive to him.
Excellent.
Yeah, the second part to that is I'm a huge comic nerd. Like huge comic nerd. And one of my favorite comic runs was the James Robinson run on Starman from 1996 to 2001. And he redefined the nature of a DC Comics villain called the Shade.
Oh, yeah.
And this character had a lot, like he was the shadow magic guy. You know, he could do all of the things with shadows. However, in the Starman book, he was more of an anti-character than he was a villain or a hero. And he kind of gave them the libertine idea, where the character was friends with Oscar Wilde, and he really liked this little city in the Midwest, and he would protect his city, but go out and do crimes with the Injustice Society and the Legion of Dooms all over the place. But where he lived was a place that you didn't touch. And I really liked that idea of the libertine, high-class, Oscar Wilde-esque Shadowmancer. You know, however, instead of playing him like I was playing, say, Rupert Everett on Absinthe, I kind of went toward more of a HAL 9000 kind of detached personality, for various reasons. For various reasons. So mechanically, I kind of went that way to see what I can do with dark. I like the dark, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. 1 second, trying to do a quick audio check on my end. Cool. All right, small problem. Thank you so much for everyone that was listening in. Thank you for your patience. Those are all really great reasons why to play the Sorcerer. I mean, the biggest thing about the Sorcerer is that it is... we made this joke at episode 3. If Wizard is a very rigid structure of casting, I can't believe we make the joke twice. Sorcerer is like the jazz. It is more constructive and deconstructive and more flexible, more creative in how the spells can manifest. And I know that in other D&D editions, meta magic feats could be obtained by wizards as well. The meta magic system being, I think, solely for sorcerers is a 5e construct. Sorcerers in the past usually just issuing materials. So it's like the benefit there was that they just didn't have to worry about components. It was more natural, less flexible and creative. Mostly talking about 3.5 here. So I guess my follow-up question for you is, now that you have the freedom to meta magic and be more expressive with your magic, what is the theme that you're tapping into with how you cast and how it manifests?
Oh, well, first off, you have to think about the spells I'm not casting. You see, it's
It's the same joke every time, and I love it. It kills me every time.
Now, I mean, if you played the chords along with my spells, then you would totally get it. You see now. So when it comes to that kind of expression, as a player, I've decided not to go edgelord, but to go mature goth in my theme. You know, kind of somewhere between goth and metal. So a lot of skeletons, a lot of skulls, a lot of dark roses, not as many spikes. Not as many spikes. But very much like well, for example, when I cast some of my cantrips, instead of taking the form of, say, a Mario hand or you know, a nice manicured hand kind of thing, it's I deal a lot with like skeletal bone hands and, you know, just this side of necromancy, you know, that's kind of thing, because I deal with the shadows and the cold places, but not, you know, the icky sticky old meat kind of thing, you know.
But see, I like that. I like that Mike got that in your drawing. I like the way the smokes in the darkness kind of spirals around you. It gave off that vibe that you're like, these shadows are here now, but I'm going to put them over there. Kind of like that ability to adjust the darkness is a really neat aspect. And the fact that the sorcerer allows you to apply that to your casting is awesome.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Mike is one of our amazing technical producers on Dungeons Divided. They do. If you ever see us live and we sound good and look good, it's only because he's kicking ass behind the scenes, dealing with all of us. And he's also a talented artist. I think he did like 90% of the artwork. Some you may or may not have seen yet, and that's a surprise for when it comes out. But just truly a talented guy. Would not be anywhere in your eyes if it wasn't for Mike. Also,
I just want to jump in here real quick. Hey, this is Mike, disembodied voice. Tonight's camera quality, not my fault.
100%.
No, my camera was fine until Mike touched it.
Mike is watching. He's currently the eye in the sky, and yeah, our camera's quality is not indicative of Mike's quality. But when San Diego Comic-Con is come and gone, I assure you, you'll see Mike quality once again. But with that being said, I also want to do a quick shout out to the chat as we see someone wrote, Corin is the edgelord this season. That is very, very true. While we have someone who, like they said, is prone to more goth meets metal, that does not mean they're edgy. When you have a rogue who's got some, emotional baggage, they're bound to be the edgelord. So we're going to watch Corin's journey, and hopefully that edgelord becomes an edgeless king. I
will put forward, though, thanks to the episode zeros, everybody's got some darkness to them. Like, there's nobody that quite got off without having some touch of some weirdness going on in their circle. So
yes, but some of us are so sharp we could just cut ourselves.
Okay, as long as we're not pizza cutters. And for those of you who don't know the metaphor, a pizza cutter is something with all edge and no point. I'm here for edge so long as there's a point. If you're like, I'm going to be dark and broody, cool, let's talk about trauma. No, I just want to be dark and broody. You suck. I don't know what to tell you. But let's move on to the next question. The next question I have, and I'll start with DW on this one. What was the inspiration for the voice? In this case, what was the inspiration for the voice of Tinkus?
So funny enough, and this hasn't quite come out. This isn't. It's advanced knowledge, but it's not spoilery. It's not something that's going to surprise anybody when it comes out. But the voice was specifically, I didn't want to do a robot voice. I've done robot voices before for projects I've worked on. And I wanted to be able to have range. I wanted to be able to have more emotion. And I looked at some of the voices that you see in entertainment for robots that aren't robot voices. And they give kind of that innocent vibe to it. And I liked that, but I wanted to put a different spin on it. So the voice that you hear from Tinkus is actually spot on the voice of his, reprogrammer. The gnome that found him and turned him into the toy maker he is today, sounded exactly like him and actually wanted somebody to talk to. So gave him his voice because he decided he loved the sound of his own voice and he gave it to them. But it offers me the ability to have more range of emotion, also a knowledge of some vocabulary that is not unknown to Tinkus, but not sure exactly how he'll use it. But there was a very cantankerous gnome. And so that's kind of where I started with trying to come up with his voices. What did the gnome sound like? And then to take that same cantankerous voice and now talk as a really nice, innocent character in a cantankerous voice. So it's going to be fun if we ever meet my my reprogrammer.
You know, for some old school gamers out there, there's many times during sessions where I'm expecting you to ask me to stay a while and listen.
That's my job, to freeze you.
You do got some big Deckard Cain energy, and I definitely love that. I guess my follow-up is, as someone who is your GM and might have to voice this character, how in the hell can I get that voice? Teach me, coach me. How can I get the Tinkus voice?
Well, the aspect that I put forward is a bit gravel in the back, but keeping the instrument open. So everything still has that resonance of not having as much jaw structure, of strength. There's a little bit of the B come through, but not as much as, say, like the of a British sounding character. But that little bit of, like I said, weakness in the cheek muscles, but still full volume, full head muscle to be able to get off my lawn, you little twit. What are you doing there? No, those toys are for kids who are older than you. That was how he would sound in my head.
All right, so I'm going to have to really work on that and make sure I don't get the, as Patton Oswalt put, the fat guy bees, where it's like, I bought the bracelet at Braxton Bravely's. Like, I don't want to get that kind of bee, but I want just a little bit of a pop of my bee.
Don't open the door no matter what you hear.
It is also an option, considering how much I've worked in dubbing, that after we're done with the Twitch stream, I could dub it for the YouTube video.
Could be. Either way, we'll have to workshop that together because I will probably need help on that. Now, this is one last question. Simple, one-word answer. What is Tinkus's favorite cuss word?
Ooh, favorite as a... Ooh. That is a tough one. Because Tinkus has, based on his reprogrammer, he has quite a knowledge of the cussing vocabulary, but what would be his favorite would be something with some character to it, and possibly that Tinkus doesn't entirely know how negative it is. So I'm trying to think of a good one. Actually, give me a minute. Go to Solar with the questions. I'll have an answer for you in a minute. I need to think about this.
All right, think about this. We'll come back to, because I'm going to make Solar answer the same question, but let's get to the first one. What was the inspiration for the voice of Cythereal?
Oh, Hannibal Lecter, or rather HAL 9000. Yeah, it's okay. So HAL 9000 is one of my favorite movie villains. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because he has absolutely no malice in his heart, and his Hal's, like, not Cythereal's, but Hal's major emotional flaw is insecurity. He's a neurotic robot, but even when he's not neurotic, there was something I was taught by one of my many therapists, is that really powerful people never raise their voice.
Yep.
Like, ever. And when I look at some of my favorite portrayals of, say, the devil, like Robert De Niro in Angel Heart, they're always very calm and very precise in their speech. So when I think about Cythereal, I think about someone from a culture where everyone is very measured in the things they say. However, due to the shadow part of his nature, there's kind of half of him that isn't there. Like there's a sub-processor thing going, which is why all of his answers or his interactions with other characters seem to be an afterthought. Yeah, you get where I'm going? So
Yeah.
when he says hello, it's almost like he didn't notice you there, and now that he does, his notice of you is fading.
See in the chat we have Joshua Story saying, evening, Joshua Story. Great to see you in the chat.
And you know what time of day it is.
That is true. Good times indeed. Well, we were just, I think, going through the question about what the inspiration for the voice of 𝐶ethereal. We mentioned kind of the follow-up question to that, how much of the shadow realm and shadow plane influences that voice, and we did, I think, land on that. But now I have a question, the last follow-up for the next series of questions. This is going, of course, to DW and Solar. Let's go back to DW because I know you wanted to wait a little bit. You want some time to think about it.
Got a good answer.
You got a good answer? All right, what is Tinkus's favorite cuss?
So I had an idea of what I wanted it to be, and I wanted to make sure, and I looked up some old words to kind of make sure I had the right one. And for multiple reasons, it would be scrote.
Scrote. I want to know the reasons why scrote is the word, not bird. Bird is not the word today. The word is scrote, and why? Tell us, TW.
I'd also
Because
like to know the
scrote
definition because I only know it as a body part, and knowing
It
you,
is. It's a body part. It's used as a derogative term for people. When you call somebody that body part,
just
it's referring to the scrotum.
Double checking. It could have, with your love of old English language, it could have.
I know. Believe me, I was really tempted to go down the road and find some good Shakespearean insults, and I'm like, no, I'm going to try and keep this within more known stuff. But the thing is that while it's already an acceptable term to call somebody you don't like, it's a nice, it's got some meat to it, for lack of trying not to pun necessarily, but kind of. But here's where the pun exists. You are all skin bags to him.
Okay. Inspiration point to the chat. I will grant this to the chat. What is the name of the Knights of the Old Republic droid, bounty hunter, I believe, that refers to humans as meat bags? If you can put that in the chat or put that in the comments.
Oh.
It's not IG-88, actually. Okay. IG-88 doesn't talk, at least not in any way that's binary chatter. Wow. Team Blackout Drunk says HK74. I believe that is the guy. So Team Blackout Drunk, you get an inspiration point that you can use when you're watching the show. Be like, here's an inspiration point, and maybe we'll let the players use it retroactively for chaos. Who knows? Okay, great. So we have Tinkus's favorite cuss. It is scrote, which I think is funny because knowing that you like Old English, it's like this close to calling someone a bellend by about 3 to 6 inches, respectively. So I love that. But let's turn it over to Solar. Solar, what is 𝐶ethereal's favorite swear word?
In truth, he doesn't have one. You see, since he grew up in the elven blah, 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 he learned very young that a person swears for lack of a better word. So the more verbose and articulate that he gets, the more frustrated he is with the person he's speaking with.
Got it. So it's swear in energy, but not in words.
There's always another word. There's no reason to call someone a hyperbotamic landmass. But sometimes people need to have things explained to them very clearly.
I was going to say it's the ultimate talking down to. I am going to put this in very small words and a lot of them, so you can't misunderstand what I am telling you right now.
It is reminiscent to me of a great TikTok audio, I believe from the Treasure Planet Disney movie, wherein the very attractive
Yes.
Fox captain says, "How can I make this as monosyllabic as possible?" What a put down. What great energy.
I mean, and Disney does that well, because you also get the "I don't speak moron as well as you do, but let me try."
Yes.
Disney likes that energy.
I will say this about Disney. Like, there's a lot of hit and misses going on there, but every now and then they let their writers absolutely make a grand slam on a quip. They'll let them quip very well.
But sometimes someone was born a street rat and they'll die a street rat, and only their fleas will mourn them.
Which is another great line, when they're like, just when they just hit you below the belt so hard, so expertly. Jafar has a lot of one-liners that are absolute winners as well, but that's a different conversation for later. I want to go back to the chat really fast. Team Blackout Drunk said _HK47. Nero Burn Gaming did actually correct them. It is actually HK47, much like AK-47, which I'm starting to think was on purpose by LucasArts. But hey, whatever you gotta do to remember the name of the robot.
Old bounty droid. That kind of makes sense.
True.
My favorite one that they slipped in there was the fact that there's JB007 is the stormtrooper that was played by Daniel Craig.
Oh my god!
Allegedly.
I believe he's come out and said it was him.
Yes, allegedly.
Allegedly. But I love that headcanon because it gives that random trooper a bit more point and purpose.
They should have given him a tie to straighten.
Just comes in with a martini, shaken, not stirred, and like he tries to drink it, but spills all over his suit. And they're like, "What is this?" And he's like, "I'm in character. I'm sorry."
It makes the sound of Dark Helmet drinking coffee.
What was the name? Speaking of stormtroopers with random names, what was the name of the stormtrooper? Because I think this was also allegedly canonized. That had that kind of electric swivel Tonfa that looked at Finn and cried "traitor."
I don't know if I didn't know he had a name.
Oh, I think that was Leroy. That was had to be Leroy. That's
It's just Maddie got out. All right, well, let's go to the third question on the list. And I'll start with DW, and of course go to Slower after that. What is something you're looking forward to from your build later down the road? So DW, you built a Warforged Artificer. With that combination, what's something you're looking forward to much later as you build this character?
Oh, the homunculus is one thing. But man, there have been a lot of things that are. I'm trying to think if there was a specific that. Oof, this question's got me a little stumped. Trying to pick one.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's a caster of sorts, so like spells are always a given. But I'm looking for something a bit chunkier. Like what's something you're like?
I will tell you one of the things that I was looking. This doesn't come from the build. Is I was looking forward to the idea of taking him towards making magical items. The fact that because of the way this build put forward, I have proficiency in pretty much every tool, which comes in handy, of course, with making toys. But I want to eventually take that into, I want to make armor for the group. I want to make weapons for the group. I want to be making magic items, especially since I can already infuse them with magical infusements, but there may be other aspects that I can get to that I'm looking forward to. And making like spell storing items and stuff like that an artificer can do. But man, the high level stuff that they get is more just bonuses on everything, more items that you can attune to yourself, more. So with the artificer, I'm looking at the idea of basically being this Swiss Army knife of a character and having like as many magic items and weirdness going on around me that I can, as I'm literally is part of why I created the idea with Tinkus that when he creates, literally pieces and gears of himself will form the thing he creates. So when he creates the gun, I already have the ideas when he creates the homunculus. Like all of these things are going to be built of him.
Got it. Got it. Now, I know at the time that we are doing this live show, episode 3 has just dropped, and that is the one where we've ended with a delightful cliffhanger.
Yeah.
There is a treasure chest in that room that may have something that kicks this whole journey off. So I guess my follow-up question is, since it sounds like the crux of your future build that you're very excited about is what can Tinkus build, then let me ask you this one last follow-up question. What is the penultimate thing that you want him to build? Like, if you had to pie in the sky for any one player, yourself included, what do you want your magnum opus of creation to be?
Oh, I, in all honesty, there's aspects of how I'm feeling with this character that lead me towards, I don't know where this is specifically coming from, maybe my love of Doctor Who, but something dealing with time. Like literally like a time bomb that makes a time bubble. And the people who are somehow able to access it and maybe take an extra move or something like that within that time bubble, or use it to freeze somebody in time for a moment while other things can happen. Something time related, dilation, elongation. Yeah, I think something time related.
Okay, very exciting.
It's not a suit of armor around the world.
No, there will be no because and this is the interesting thing is I can only make one homunculus. I think eventually I might be able to make 2. I'm trying to remember what the rules were when I was looking them up, but that will be it, and those are really of him.
Very, very cool.
There's not there's not the network of and things that can spin off. It's just him.
Yeah. Well, as your GM, I'm the right person to hear that answer, because like that's something that we can probably figure out at some point, I'm sure. It might be end game level stuff, but we can figure that out, no problem. Also, quick shout out in the chat to Heroes of Evermore. They are an awesome group of people doing the damn thing on Twitch, writing books about their amazing campaigns. You can see there. And some more stuff about them I want to talk about later, but I'll talk about it at the end. Also, shouting out to chat, Joshua Story.
Keep wanting me to make things for Mr. Nibbles. I know.
A baby character for a bear-sized Mr. Nibbles. So we are expecting Mr. Nibbles to go through a bit of an evolution, if you will.
You can't introduce dinosaurs in this game because he will try and make one into Mr. Nibbles. Just saying.
Let's see the future.
It's a Tarrasque named Nibbles.
Yeah, we'll see, but that's definitely a possibility. Solar, same for you. What is something you're looking forward to from your build as a shadow sorcerer later down the road?
Oh, shadow walking.
Oh,
the shadow walking, especially with the ability to cast darkness. There's a mischievous 6-year-old in me that wants to use like the shadow walking to kind of use shadow portals to drop handfuls of snakes next to things, but I'm no longer 7, which means it'll be unmanageable amounts of spiders. Let's see. Yeah, that's a big thing. I always like the idea of one of the reasons I chose shadows is because they're more places than you think. You know, when you really think about it, a shadow is just a place where the light isn't, which means sealed chests, vaults, underneath furniture. Like the idea that Cythereal will have access to every key and left sock that every player ever loses is kind of fun to me.
Just going that full chaos goblin of no, it's only the left sock, never both, never the right one, only the left one. And every key that you thought you had in your back pocket is now mine. This is my follow-up question, I suppose. I know that you've been playing Vampire the Masquerade and other World of Darkness games for quite a while. So my question is this. La Sombra, how much of that would you say is guiding the greater machinations of this narrative aesthetic shadow magic?
None at all, actually. None at all. La Sombra never actually hit my head. What actually did was one of my favorite antagonists in literature, being Nicodemus, the first of the Denarians from the Dresden Files.
Ooh, okay.
The idea that you have the ultimate counterintelligence guy because he can see and hear through shadows that he concentrates on.
Interesting.
So, yeah, the entire idea of knowing what your foils or your antagonists are up to just by listening, because everyone casts a shadow, is really fun to me.
I definitely love that. Now, my longer education in nerddom and creative writing is comic books and Americana. Like,
Oh, yes.
the tragedy of which is you cannot separate the two because they literally build each other. But there is a great villain, for lack of a better word. Oh, my audio coming through?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. But there's a great villain in the Static Shock cartoons, which eventually became canonical comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the leader of
Kristen Power, the great Dwayne McDuffie.
Exactly. R.I.P. To an MVP. And everything about that, I think, was underrated even for its time, underrated even more so now. But there's a great villain, leader of the
the Bang Babies.
Yeah. Yep. The shadow guy in that group too, and like just such a great way to aesthetically use his powers for the narrative structure and the mechanical structure of that character and the show. Like, just 10 out of 10. And just what you were saying about like being able to use them like as an additive is such a great way to look at that. I don't think there's a follow-up question. I think I'm just geeking out. But I'm geeking out. And also calling to the chat here.
You can't geek out. You must be serious and focused and academic the entire time. Sterner, give me more Stern. I need rock face coming from you. Yeah. No nerd for you. Only Chad. Only intellectual Chad.
Only Chad. Yes, I don't think I'm you enough to be a Chad.
That's what I want to know. Yeah, lobsters.
Lobsters. Red Lobster's actually going out of business, but that's a different conversation. Kick it over to the chat. Nero Burn Gaming. This is said with love because of the 3 hearts out there, but it says, I think Josh, our lovely fighter, is running the whack dual-wield fighter build again, so he'll need the damage help he can get. Right. So Tinkus and Cetherial, if you're willing to make a bear-sized shadow nibbles companion, our fighter may need it. So...
But it won't need a holder then at that point. So that's all on you, Material.
And I refuse to allow this character to have a Hound of Ill Omen named Nibbles for more than 3 rounds. I just can't do it.
If there's anything I remember from, I believe, the Shadow Sorcerer from Xanathar. Please correct me. It might be from Tasha's. No, it's from Xanathar's.
Yeah, it's from Xan's. Yeah.
Yeah, good old Zanny, the one-eyed baddie. You do eventually get your own hound that your shadow hound, if you will, the mastiff that you can summon. Yeah. Yeah, I'm do your best to keep that away from Zolgar, because Zolgar might nibblefy him, for lack of a better word.
If he tries to nibblefy him, I'll make him lick him and call him Licky or something. I don't know. Mr. Nibbles, no, it's Miss Licky. Thank you.
Lick my dog. Last question. And because we've talked a little bit about what you want to do, what you want the character to be like later, narratively. I think we kind of know where some of these characters want to go and be. But if you want to tell me later, go right ahead. The last question is this: wish list of magic items. Now, you may not already need an almanac knowledge of D&D 5e magic items. But if you're like, man, it'd be so cool if my character had items that could X, Y, and Z. What would that wish list be, starting with DW?
I think I would probably look at... I mean, you already gave me essentially the all-purpose tool, which was the one thing that I thought would be nice to have. and the artificer already has the ability of having the tool for every occasion, so it just became a +1 in my using the tool. But I also like the idea that one of my hands can just kind of like rotate around into whatever tool I need. But that said, aside from, because I want to make my own time thing, I think to a certain extent that he would benefit from a cloak of invisibility.
Ooh, interesting.
I think that being able to move around the battlefield, not wanting to be the combat all the time, because there's an aspect that is a little war trauma to Tinkus, that not thrilled about having to go into combat. So being able to not be seen and feeling like the big target on the field anyways, being able to be the big target but not be targeted would be a benefit.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So basically ways to for mechanical grasp on it, ways to avoid the aggro. Like you're in the fight, you're fighting, but you're not getting that attention back.
But I also like the idea of the cloak of invisibility, of literally just from this cloak, little spiders with guns on them come out. Like,
oh God! If you're watching and you have a fear of spiders, I'm so sorry for the horrendous mental image you now have of an invisible 8-foot monster and then just spiders with guns coming out in a massive horde. That's in my brain.
8-foot monster. You would just see like a little flip of fabric, and suddenly there'd be this crawling ballistic gun.
I don't see how that's better. You're still doing not acrophobia. That's the fear of heights. Arachnophobia, but with like RoboCop weapons. Like that. That's hell. That's hell for a lot of people. Oh my God! All right, cool. Well, let's turn it over. Solar. What would be, and casters are always very hard to shop for, my God, but what would be a wish list of magic items for Ethereal? What would it be?
Well, you know, it's funny because when I said an unmanageable amount of spiders, I didn't think about them with guns. Because one of the main things that I actually wanted was the hat of vermin. Specifically a top hat of vermin. It's essentially 3 times a day you kind of wave your hand over the hat and a bunch of creepy crawly things come out of it for a round and just start crawling away from you.
Nice. So like some rat catcher / rat king kind of vibes. Like you're just a horde of rats. Have some rats.
I was thinking spiders, an unmanageable amount of spiders.
So what I'm hearing is I need to homebrew the hat of spiders, and it's just spiders everywhere.
Oh, different. Again, it's a lot of them. So, in my heart of hearts, I would love for them to be camel spiders, but those are very large.
No! Why would you do that to me? No.
But for you arachnophobics out there, I'm sorry. Spiders are my favorite animals, or in my top 5. But yeah, just the idea of, look, I'm in the shadows, and now from the shadows, all of the spiders.
So great, from nowhere spiders, and from shadows spiders. Yeah, this is going to really, anybody with arachnophobia is going to be in trouble.
Well, hey, I could have said cockroaches or fleas because I'm a city kid. Or I could have said chiggers. That's just mean. But
dude, I'm from Virginia. Those things will ruin your whole month.
Summer.
They are
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So
forget about it.
So yeah, just that idea of just a hat that's like, oh look, we've got all this. It's a skinny elf. Oh, what are you gonna do with all your stuff? You're out of magical charges. Not entirely. Spiders. And then I can look at our barbarian saying, so which one is Nibbles?
That's a very good question, because Josh Story is in the chat saying, I will claim your hellhound. However, what if you didn't claim the Shadow Mastiff, you just got a random spider? That's something to consider. All right. Well, I think that is all the questions for today. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Please let us know what you think. If you have any questions, if you are on our YouTube watching us right now, please take this time to go into our comments, ask a question of these two awesome characters, or myself, or Dungeons Divided, and let us know. Until then, let's go one last time around doing our goodbyes, starting with DW. Please tell us who you are and where we can find you on that sweet, sweet internet.
DW McCann, and you can find me on different cartoons and video games, but you can also find specifically me at Bardic_DW on most social media platforms.
Excellent. And Solar as well. Please tell us where we can find you on that sweet, sweet internet.
Well, on that sweet, sweet internet, you guys can find me Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at twitch.tv/BID_P on the dark side of the room. You can also find me, just look up Solar Greye, Greye, not just Grey, EYE, on YouTube, and you can check out the YouTube channel there. You can also find me on Spotify and Apple Play and anywhere else you get your podcasts and all that stuff. If you like listening to my wonderfully nasal voice talk about games and life, because do you know anything about life, Lisa? And all of the things that make us the nerds and happy people that we are.
Very nice. Well, that just leaves little old me. My name is PJ McGaw. You can find me all over the internet at PJ McGaw, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can find me, can friend me, let's have fun. When I'm not here live from Float Studios, you can also find me at Mystic Con 2024, happening October 20th. Heroes of Evermore and other amazing TTRPG creators and writers are going to be there for a convention. I'll be there too, doing a panel about DMing and other amazing storytelling stuff. So please check out Mysticon 2024. I'll also be at Big Bad Con 2024 as well, talking about imposter syndrome and charity games and many other things. So until next time, we look forward to seeing you here, same time, same channel, for more Dungeons Divided. And if you like this interview style and you want to see more characters from more players from our show, come here and sit down with me and talk about these exact same things. Please, again, let us know in the comments. Until then, see you around next time. And we'll.
I'm really hoping to find out what Aldor's favorite curse word is.
I want to know his favorite curse word too. I guarantee you it's coffee. Until then, we'll see you next time, everyone.
Curse word.
Bye.
That is not a curse word.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a good night. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye.